This conference will now be recorded.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay.
You're,
Shall I
yeah,
continue?
you're, sure, ma'am, sure,
Oh,
please.
thank you. A very good afternoon to one and all. Thank you, Dr. Arun, for that beautiful introduction. I really remember, as you said, it's not only you. I went back to the days of my studies in Kottakkal, where I was a PG student, and Dr. Arun was a junior. He was doing his BMS there. And the bond we shared goes beyond words. And it's indeed a decade afterwards that I am listening to your voice today. I'm really overwhelmed. Dear students and the staff of Ashtanga Ayurveda, at the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Jishnu, the management, the principal, and everybody involved in the conduction of such a wonderful seminar series. I guess this is the need of the hour. As we are all locked down, I guess we need to continue with our academic careers, and students especially are given a wonderful opportunity to interact with people around the country. Sitting here in the extreme northeast of India, that is from Banaras, I'm speaking to you people who are down there in Kerala. And thanks to the technology, we could do all this. And I'm indeed thankful to the Department of Agadha Tantra, especially Dr. Jishnu, for having invited me. The topic of today's presentation is Agadha Tantra, the current trends and future perspectives. The current trends, I'm supposed to speak on that. And I really don't know what exactly we mean by the current trends. Practically speaking, if I could say, just a moment, please. I guess I have a little problem with the sharing of the screen. Okay. As we all know, Agadha Tantra is one among the Ashtanga Ayurveda, but then it, as it has its role in the Ashtangas that have been defined by Vedyas Acharyas, but still we know that it has lost its glory today. It is trying to regain its lost glory in the present era. We are no more, we ourselves are in a doubt whether we really are a clinical branch of Ayurveda or are just being taught to students as a basic subject. The students, as we all know, I don't know how it is in the Ashtanga Ayurveda, but I visit many areas as an examiner, and I really feel that students just learn this subject in order to pass the examination or finish off their curriculum. The teachers also, I stress on this point, the teachers of concerned subjects who are well versed in the subject of Agadha Tantra are very less. Yet we have problems in the appointment of teachers of concerned subject, due to which maybe the clinical applicability or the interest towards this subject is still under a great question mark. Direct clinical implications of this subject is not practiced in the institutions yet, and the treasure remains as a treasure under the Paramparika Vishwaidyas, especially in the rural areas of Kerala, Karnataka, or Maharashtra. We still see that in the institution, we don't have an OPD specially meant for Agadha Tantra. Many, I don't mean everywhere, but in many of the colleges, this is the state, that we don't have a separate clinical setup for the subject of Agadha Tantra, wherein the principles of Visha Chikitsa can be followed. If we look into the nomenclature of the subject is defined with several names in the Samhitas. While some name it as Damstra Chikitsa, mainly focusing on the Jangama Chikitsa aspect of the subject, Acharya Charaka has rightly called it as Visha Gara Vairodhika Prashamana. We all learn this in the basics of Agadha Tantra. You people also, I guess, have finished your third year and waiting for your exams to go on, and you might have completed almost all the portions of Agadha Tantra. The name Vishagara Vairodhika Prashamana speaks a lot. Acharya Charaka has denoted a separate chapter, only one chapter separately for Vishachikitsa, but then in several places of the Samhita, he mentions the treatment aspects or the principles of Visha that has to be followed. And hence he does not confine the subject just as the Damstra Chikitsa, but instead he tells it as Visha, Gara, Vairodhika, and then the prashamana of all these three concepts. Then we have the common term called as Agada Tantra given to this subject. This also is an interesting fact. As we all know, we have learned this, that Gada means a disease and Agada means free from a disease. So any branch which helps a person to keep himself free from a disease, or the preventive aspects of the treatment modalities, have been very well explained in the Vishachikitsa or the Agada Tantra part of the subject. And of course, the commonly it is called as the Vishachikitsa Adhyaya. In order to have an overview of the present trends in the level of the UG students, I thought I should go through the syllabus or the present UG curriculum that is there in the CCIM syllabus. The CCIM website shows us this syllabus module that is presently being taught to the PG students throughout the country. And individually, if I would like to highlight on certain points, that what should be the future perspectives of these points. Today, as we'll all know, point number 1 involves all the basics of Ayurveda, Vishachikitsa, and this basics must be taught as such to students with a little of practical applicability. For example, the Vishaguna or the Prabhava, a small understanding is to be taught to students at that level. Certain things in the second point, for example, we all need to know that we practice modern medicine or not. In many states, apart from states like Kerala especially, wherein doctors purely follow the Ayurvedic treatment modalities to treat patients, in several other states of the country, we know that mixopathy is being followed, or we have a collaborative treatment modalities being followed. Even otherwise, irrespective of your practicing Ayurveda or the allopathic system of medicine, the basics of a science must be known by a would-be doctor. Whatever pati he practices, the basics must be known to him. For example, the second point of the importance of poisons, the toxicological aspect of it, the absorption, excretion, metabolism of poisons, these should be learned by a student. Today, we usually do not concentrate on the absorption, excretion, or the metabolism of poisons when we teach it to students. But then I feel the general treatment principles of poisoning, or the how it is absorbed in the body, what must be done. For example, we sit in our clinics and suddenly we have a patient, or even in our family, it is very common for kids to drink kerosene. Some kerosene was available in your house, or today these days we don't use kerosene maybe. Today, because of the COVID season going on, we have the sanitizers kept at every nook and corner of the houses. And maybe a child who is playing might unknowingly drink a small portion of a sanitizer or a disinfectant being kept there. Somehow it enters into a system. What should be the immediate measures that can be taken? Hospitals are not available these days so easily. And even before you take the child or somebody to the hospital, what should be done? What should be given to the patient as such? This knowledge must be given to all students, irrespective of whether they are Ayurvedic students or modern students. In the present trend, in the present trend of treatment of poisoning, we don't do all this, but I feel this is necessary and it should be followed. For example, I would like to draw your attention towards some points in the treatment of poisoning. Give me just 2 minutes. I really want to share a slide with you. In the aspect of treatment of poisoning, we very well learn that it has different steps. For example, the immediate resuscitative methods, and then the treatment of unabsorbed poison, the treatment of absorbed poison, and the methods of excretion, and so on. We learn all this. And when we learn the treatment of the immediate resuscitative methods, I'm sorry, the first ABCD, the immediate resuscitative methods that we follow, we learn that we need to see ABCD is the method we teach to students. That is, we need to see that the airway, the breathing, and the circulations is intact. Now, a basic procedure of cardiopulmonary resuscitation, or the CPR, is a must to be taught to every student. I guess I don't know if teachers of Ashtanga teach all this in Agada Tantra, but then where else in BAMS curriculum do we teach all this? In institutes like Banaras Hindu University, we have a separate um, a subject of Sanyaharan being taught. We have a separate, well-established department of Sanyaharan, and teachers of Sanyaharan make an effort to teach all these practical aspects to the students in their BMS level. Now, this methods of cardiopulmonary resuscitation or the CPR, I guess in many countries, this is taught to even students at a level of class 8, 9 or 10. And this must be known by every citizen of the country because this is an immediate treatment being given. And I guess in the future perspectives of Agada Tantra, such basic methods must be taught to students at the UG curriculum. I would like to share this video with you. This is a video available on the YouTube. Now, all of you can go to the YouTube and search for these videos which shows the method of CPR. I guess many of you might be knowing this although. We know you can see this video, I guess. In the video, we can see a person who has suddenly fallen down unconscious, and on the checking out the respiration, we feel we are not able to see the respiration properly, or you cannot feel the respiration. There is some maybe blockage in the airway, or maybe because of the cardiopulmonary aspect, we need to give him a CPR, due to which maybe he can start breathing. Here, check for the pulse. Of course, we will call for the ambulance or the nearby help. And before that, there are two methods of CPR. If you can see in this figure, in the right hand side figure, I'm sorry, in this figure, as you can see, the artificial respiration has been given. Maybe these days, even without artificial respiration, if you are able to give it with the handkerchief on the face, it is better. If you know the technique well, we do give it. But even without that, a simple procedure of CPR can be done. We need to know that this is the method. You place exactly in the center portion of the chest. You place your left wrist and interdigitate your right fingers over the left. Then you give a push like this. The push should be so strong that it can go until the vertebra and push it down, as shown in this figure here, so that the cardiac activities is given a pump there. You try to initiate the cardiac activity which might have stopped. I just want you to see this again. Visualize the center portion. Keep your left hand. Interdigitate your right fingers over the left. You need to interlock the fingers. There are two methods. You can even hold your wrist. And then you give this procedure of at least 100 compressions per minute. The speed should be so that it should give at least 100 compressions per minute, and the depth so that it goes at least downwards. It pushes the chest downwards to at least about 1.5 to 2 inches down. You give 30 compressions, and then if possible, you give a artificial breath. Now, this is how a CPR is done. Now, this method, I understand it is not easy to follow this, but then you do it continuously, and this might help people to gain. For example, very recently, in about 6 to 7 months back, maybe, or 5 to 6 months back, we had a patient collapsing in the OPD of the BHU, one of our OPDs, and the patient completely had no breath. The students around or the doctors immediately tried giving him a strong CPR, because of which we could at least shift the patient from the OPD setup into the ICU. We don't get so much time even many at times, but then by using a CPR, maybe we can try. I would like to share a video. This is one of the videos very recently which has gone viral in the are you able to see this? This was one video which has gone viral on the Facebook. As you can see here, in the coastal, this was a video of Karnataka, of course, my native place, and nearby we know that in coastal belts of Kerala and Karnataka we have a lots of rivers, and it is common for houses to be located in the river sides. Children go and play on the banks of the rivers, and suddenly this girl, she fell down, and this was a case of drowning. They try rescuing her out, but then they found that the respiration was very feeble. They called for the ambulance, but between, look at this girl, one of the girls who was there around, she is a girl of class 9 or 10, I guess. She was an NCC cadet. You can see this gentleman also giving a CPR. I don't know if it is very clearly visible for you, but then so beautifully given CPR. And the student also, look at this girl now. So she's giving this procedure so well, interlocking her fingers, the speed with which she is giving it. And you can see eventually this is there in the Facebook. I don't know if whether it is available on YouTube, but I got it from the Facebook account of one of my friends. This is being shared everywhere, stating that every one of us must know this. And by the time the ambulance was arrived, this girl had started the normal breathing. At least if we know such procedures of CPR, whatever be the thing we do, maybe in the procedure many a times we mean to break the ribs, but then if you can, even a strong CPR when given really breaks the ribs, but that is not a problem. But if you can stimulate the heart to begin to function, that is a great work. So students must be taught with such procedures, I guess, in Agada Tantra, because there is no other subject. We can do it because we are involved in the teaching of the such procedures. Now, one more thing, similar things like we read about the obstruction of a foreign material inside. I guess you can see this in the X-ray that are shown here. A child has taken inside a coin here, and the coin is blocked in the esophagus. I understand this is not meant for all of us to practice, but then maybe in serious conditions where you are practicing in a village, and or maybe at a night when there are no doctors available around, if we can train our students to do such simple techniques wherein such things, if you are very sure this is not entered into the trachea, it is in the esophagus, then the procedure is really not difficult. We can teach our students, whether they practice or not is their wish, but then teaching them with the help of mannequins should be adopted in the future perspectives of the Department of Agat Tantra. I would like to share this video. This is also a video from the YouTube. Here the procedure has been explained. A simple Foley's catheter. You insert the Foley's catheter inside the esophagus. See, this is a mannequin. If you can see here, all such mannequins should be available in every department of Agat Tantra. The CCIM should make mandatory such. We keep a lot of weapons. I don't know why we keep dead snakes, weapons and all such. I understand all these are important, but I guess such mannequins should be kept in the Department of Forensic Medicine and Toxicology, or of course the Department of Agat Tantra, and we should train students on these mannequins how to conduct these procedures. See, the Foley's catheter is inserted inside here into the esophagus. You teach the students how to locate this patient either in the lateral position or then in the recumbent position, and then you push in water, distilled water, so that the bulb of the Foley's catheter is enlarged, and then you pull it out. Now that was the method I wanted to show you in the mannequin. Now this being conducted over a student, if you can see here, such procedures are practically followed. See, this is a patient who has swallowed 3 coins. You can see the Foley's catheter is inserted inside. Of course, maybe in the first stretch, the patient coughs. We have a doubt that it has entered into the trachea. Now this will be pulled out and again reinserted. If you can see here, see it is pulled out, maybe because he had a cough reflex, you never know properly. And then reinserted, and it was checked with the help of a torch whether the patient was asked to swallow the swallowing movement. You can see here, so that you know it has entered the esophagus only. Now the Foley's catheter will have a small obstruction once it reaches the level beyond that coin. Because of the presence of the coin, but the whole of the Foley's catheter is inserted inside. And then now, see, it is seen through the mouth whether it is visible or not in the oropharynx. And then distal water is pushed. Now the bulb is expected to enlarge there, so that when it comes out, the coin is pulled out along with the Foley's catheter. Now here the lateral position was not followed. The patient was made to sit and the Foley's catheter is pulled out. See, it is pulled out. The whole of the catheter is out. The coin is in the oropharynx and now the patient has put it out. See, the doctor is showing you that he has removed 3 coins that was swallowed by the patient. Now, such procedures, all these are the immediate resuscitative methods, of course, that are followed. And there's no harm in all of us learning such procedures. We practice it or not, that is left to us. But we need to know such procedures, that what can be done. The gastric lavage also, it is directly related to us. I understand all of us cannot do a procedure of gastric lavage. But then we learn this. I don't know if you are being shown all this in your classrooms, but we learn this, we draw this, the gastric lavage tube and with the funnel, with an opening, and all this has been taught to students. But practically speaking, these days in the hospitals, we no more put in such huge pipes into the patients. Now, such things also we should know, that what is done to students. See, you can teach all such procedures also using a mannequin. If you can see here, there's a mannequin and the doctor is showing the procedure. Of course, the endotracheal intubation, we needn't do this everywhere. Then the procedure, you have a mouth gag, which is like this. These days, we no more have a mouth gag attached to the gastric lavage tube. You see the tube here. It is a fine a tube that is used. The position, the left lateral position, as we teach to the students. We no more have a funnel. We don't have that symphonic movement due to which we raise the funnel and then put it down and bring the gastric contents out. Instead, we use a syringe. The gastric lavage tube is put inside the stomach, then the step is kept here. We learn all these procedures, isn't it, to confirm whether it is in the stomach or not. See, this is how the gastric lavage is done these days. You retract the contents using such 50 ml or 100 ml syringes. You push in the material of gastric lavage in and pull out the contents. Now, maybe in remote areas, people who practice in remote area, especially of Kerala and Karnataka, we know that many Ayurvedic practitioners, especially in states like Kerala where you are, the medical officers who practice there, what is wrong if we begin such procedures in the medical or in the hospital level? If students are taught this in Ayurveda, I guess there is nothing modern or Ayurveda here. It is only that you can give antidotes of Ayurveda once this procedure is done. This procedure is really life-saving, and maybe eventually when students are trained on such mannequins, it is not really very difficult for students to practice all this. So I really wish there will be one day where such practical aspects of treatments of poisoning will be taught to students, irrespective of whether they are of Ayurveda or allopathic system of medicine, so that all these procedures can be practiced when they go out into clinical practice. Then quickly I want to speak on certain other points, that is in the present curriculum, in the present trends of Agada Tantra that we teach. This one point I would like to emphasize on. The origin, classification of Visha, of course, they have their own relevance. The difference between Visha, Ojo, and Madhya Guna. Naturally, what we teach to students is we ask them to by heart the gunas of Visha, the gunas of Ojas, the gunas of Madhya, and we just teach them that they are opposite to each other. That's all. But then what I feel is, look, we are going in a pandemic situation now. We all are in a situation of COVID-19. All of us are affected. Now we know what is recommended by the government. We need to use immune boosters. We need to wash our hands regularly. We need to sanitize our houses regularly. Can the concepts of Visha be used here? We say, now look, we have to understand that when we teach students that Visha has exactly the opposite qualities of that of Ojas, we should also teach them that if you want to enhance the Ojas in a person, that means we need to give them certain Vishahara Dravya as well, so that when they are exposed to Vishas, naturally when the qualities of Visha go down, the qualities of Ojas comes up. Now how do we do that? We all know in this season of COVID-19, what we say everybody is, you people follow the immune boosters. You drink more of kashayas of immune boosters, and if we have to name some, we just say guduchi or ashwagandha. All this is said. Why not certain Vishahara Dravyas? For example, I don't know if you are taught with the Vishagna Ghanas as mentioned in the Samhitas. We regularly don't teach all this to our students. The Vishagna Gana in Charaka Samhita, in the when he mentions the different, in the chapter 4 of Sutrasthana, the different Kashaya Vargas, there is one Varga called as the Vishagna Kashayani, Vishagnani Bhavanti, Haridra, Manjista, Subaha, Sukshmela, many more. There is a list of 10 drugs, and if you can see, many of these drugs are available. Now, can't we mention a Kashaya of these drugs? They are not only because of the Vishaharatva of these drugs, maybe they will not only cause the antagonistic aspects of Visha, but they also will help to boost the immunity of the person. Similarly, there are several ganas mentioned in the Sushruta Sutra, wherein Acharya Sushruta mentions a combination of drugs, and in many of these drugs you can find the Vishagna properties. For example, the Aragvadadi Gana, which says it has a property of Vishagna along with Kushta, Jwara, Kandu, Vrinashodhanaha. Kushtagna, Jwaragna, Vamigna, Kandugna, and Vrinashodhana. Now, such combinations of drugs, Aragvadadi Kashaya is available, or it can be made available. Maybe we should apply such concepts in practical aspects. We should teach students that such things must be practically applied also. Now, I know a series of lectures you have been listening to. You have already listened to eminent personalities like Dr. Sri Krishnan, Dr. Prabhakaran. Am I audible? Can I continue?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Hello?
yes.
I have some disturbances.
Someone's mic is on.
Now, okay.
You're audible.
Now, you all might have listened to the practical aspects, but then we need to understand that in certain diseases, like we have the relation of Dushi Visha with several allergic or immunological disorders. When we see, to name a few, the eczema, for example, we have the two varieties of eczema, the weeping and the dry eczema. In conditions of weeping eczema, I'm very sure both Dr. Sri Krishnan and Dr. Prabhakaran, who have been my teachers during my PG days, they might have very well emphasized on the Vishahara activities of drugs. Now, in such situations, usually we go for Tiktaka Kashaya, Mahatiktaka Kashaya. All these are the drug of choice for people when we know that it is a skin. Manjistadi Kashaya, such things we apply, we give on patients. Why not try certain things which have Vishahara Guna also, Vishahara property also, like the Aragvadadi Kashaya? They really do wonders. Now, because they not only have the Kushtahara property, they also have the Vishahara property. If you go into the history taking of such patients, you will see that in some way or the other, they are very well acquainted to one or the other forms of toxicants, and hence the role of Vishagna Aushadas have their own part to play in the treatment of such disorders. The Arkadi Gana, again mentioned by Acharya Sushruta, Arka in itself is a Upavisha. And when Arkadi Gana, if you can see a combination, it is not only Vishapaha, Krimi, Kusta, Prashamano. This has also been said in the Gana. Now, we should apply this knowledge in treatment of certain conditions like maybe the wounds, the chronic non-healing ulcers with maggots. We know we usually go for Triphala, Kashaya, Avaseka in such patients. The maggots are one such conditions. It is horrible. I have done my PhD on wound management, and I have seen several patients which really are very difficult to treat when they have maggots. Controlling of this growth of maggots becomes very difficult. Every day we need to go for debridement and removal of these maggots, and such combinations like the Arkadi Gana, they do wonders when we give them for Avasechana. We as Vishachikitsas, we should teach students that such things must be used, not just Triphala. Triphala has its own role, I agree, but then we need to use certain things which are Vishahara also to have a better results. We have several such examples, the Eladi Gana, especially they are used in dry eczemas, the Eladi Taila, that is very well used in states like Kerala. I needn't tell all this, and many other ganas have been explained by Acharya Sushruta. These must be emphasized with their practical utility to students. Point number 4 of our present curriculum, the test for detection of Visha. I'm really very sad when I think on this. Whenever I meet students, I see when I ask questions on this aspect of the syllabus, students are taught with just Panchabautika Pariksha of Visha. We still teach students that we Hutabhuktena Annena, Brisham Chatachatayate, and then the Chakora Pakshi, all that. That is necessary. We need to know how our acharyas used to follow all these treatments. But then in the current day, what is to be taught to students under this? We need to teach them the importance of contact poisoning. We know Anne, Pane, Dantakaste, Tata, Bhyange, Avalekane, all this is mentioned in the Annaraksha Kalpa of Sushruta, and very good treatment modalities have been explained for each one of them. Certain practical examples, you might have listened to this. There are very good, one of my friends, I guess you might be very well acquainted with Dr. Gopi Krishna, who is assistant professor in the Department of Agat Tantra of VPSC Ayurveda Cortical. He practices the Vishachikitsa so well on the patients of skin in dermatitis and many more conditions. Maybe Dr. Mahesh Savalgimat, I don't know whether you have heard to such people who have really do wonders these days while practicing all this practically on several patients of skin. Contact poisoning with, now this example, if you can see, contact poisoning with the toothpaste. This was a patient of a toothpaste contact poisoning. The bristles that are worn, the metals or the items that are used in the bristles that are worn on the teeth to correct them, they create a lot of problems like this. Or the contact due to abharana, some chains or the earrings, all these might cause the dermatitis, contact dermatitis. Contact dermatitis due to slippers, these are very common. This again due to chappal. The nappy rash that we see in kids due to the napkins that have been used, both these are examples of vastra. Then the bindi, the abharana, again one among them. The cosmetics, the face mask cream, this, the eyeliner that has been used, all these I have taken from, of course, the Google photographs on of papers which have been published that shows the toxicity of the chemicals that have been used in eyeliners, lipsticks and face masks, the bleach that is used, the cosmetics. All these can be treated very well with the concepts of Vishachikitsa that have been explained under point 4, that is contact poisoning. This should be taught to students. And the test for detection of Visha, for example, we merely say that, for example, Kupilu, if you know, is the twak of Kupilu is very well used. It has if you can listen to the talks of Dr. Gopi Krishna, whom I have mentioned, he has been very exclusively using the twak of Kupilu in treating non-healing ulcers. what his experience says is he has very good results compared to use of other drugs. Vishahara dravyas or Vishadravyas, when they are used, they give you faster result as compared to other dravyas. So according to his experience, the Kupilutva Kashaya Avasechana, or I really acknowledge his experience here. I'm using his experience. But then the fact to be taught to students is people who practice Agda Tantra are very few. But all of us should learn from the people who are practicing and try to inculcate in our daily practices. I have research studies that have been conducted in BHU on labs which show that these Upavishas, many of them, especially Kupilu, has a good antimicrobial property on several strains of bacteria like Streptococcus, Staphylococcus, E. coli. But can students of BMS understand this? Don't they need to understand this? For example, I want to share a small experience. There was a mela set up here, a fair sort of thing, where a stall was set up from the Department of Agatantra. I made my students sit there, and common people from common public came, and we had displayed a certain upavishas to tell common public that these are poisonous. So when they are used, they should be used with care. And as they were explaining, one of my students was asked, then how do you utilize this in your practice? You tell you are using this also. My student very courageously said them that we do a procedure called Shodhana, and after Shodhana they are safe. But then the patient asked him, the layman who had come to the fair asked my student that how come that after Shodhana, what happens? You say you do it with Godugda, you heat it for 3 hours. What happens to the Kupilu or the any dravya, Datura, Ganja, Gunja, anything that you use after Shodhana, what happens that they are made non-toxic? So these things should be taught to students at a BAMS level. My student couldn't answer that question there. That is the lack of teachers of Agatantra. We should tell them the procedures involved. We all know very well that instruments like HPLC maybe, or the in vitro and in vivo examinations. Look, this is one test that was conducted in my department here. We saw for the antimicrobial activity. Now, we cannot take students to the labs maybe, but with such photographs, we should tell them that this was the culture that was developed, dilutions of the wound sample that I had taken from the patient, and then we did different dilutions. We put it on blood agar. This was when the pus was located in the patient. The wound had pus, and then that tissue was of course it goes through a series of processes, and then it was spread on the blood agar. There are procedures in vitro. We keep it on an oven, and the next day you can see here, you can see in this slide, if you can see here properly, all these are the organisms that are grown in blood agar. Now, these are the organisms that were found on the tissues of the patient during the course of treatment. And once in a week, I followed this treatment, and within the days of 15 days matter, at the end of 1 week, we could see that these were gone. All these organisms were gone. That means the organisms that are present, see, it becomes the blood agar remains like this with no organisms. Before treatment or during the course of treatment, you can do both qualitative and quantitative analysis like this in vitro studies to see what are the microorganisms involved, whether the drug used in this study was Panchavalkala, whether the Panchavalkala Koshaya that I was using was having some effect on the patient or not, which specific organisms was minimized. All such knowledge should be given to students, that what is done in lab, in vitro studies, or we have studies which have proven that Dushi Vishari Gutika has good effect in stopping the hepatotoxic effects of pesticides like endosulfan or cypermethrin, etc. When we say this, we need to have a strong support research backgrounds which are done on animals. Students at BAMS level should know what are teratogenic studies, what are this animal experimentation. At least a brief introduction should be given to students so that it can be easy for them to understand the subjects. The concepts of adult trends, what are the tests for adult trends? If you see, we know that very commonly, day before yesterday, I had some mutter in my house. I bought this from market. I put it into a glass of water, and when I saw this, it was green in color. I bought some fresh green leafy vegetable. Palak, for example, I put it in water, leave it for half an hour. This is simple water. And if you can see such colorings, it is surely an evident fact that it is mixed with certain adulterants, non-permissible colors like methanol yellow or rhodamine B. There are many colors which are added to make them look more attractive. This knowledge should be given to students at the BMS level. Maybe I know Kerala is one such state which is doing very well in the fight of COVID-19. We get to see a lot in news regarding the Aparajita Dhuma, for example, which is practiced in, which is supplied into every district, every houses. Now, what I feel is, as a department of Agada Tantra should take a lead, and we should see why not practice the Laksha Haridra Dhuma as well. This is a dhuma that has been explained, the procedure of dhupana that has been explained in the Vishakta Vayu Chikitsa, point number 5 of our syllabus. Our students should know that in the Vishakta Vayu, we explain the treatment modality of Laksha Haridradi, which does not have many drugs. The Eladi Ganadravya along with Laksha and Haridra and Ativisha are being explained here. Any few drugs that are explained also, if you can make a combination, if you use this for dhupana, this has vishagna effect as well. And we all know that in the Vishakta Vayu, it is the Vayu which has been affected, has the Visha. And here in the COVID-19, recently WHO has declared that the virus is an airborne. And hence, if this is so, maybe a Laksha Haridradi Dhuma will help you even more. So a knowledge of this should be given to students. The Vishopakrama, I'm very sure this practically we should show students with procedures like Vamana, Virechana, wherever possible. I agree this is the aspect of the Panchakarma, but we should try to teach this to students also. In the Upavisha aspect also, not only the fatal doses and the fatal periods, we need to teach students the practical utility. Many of these drugs, Kupilu, Datura, Gunja, even Ganja for that matter, though it is not allowed according to the NDPS Act, we need to know that these can be used very well in several diseases following the procedure of Shodhana. Datura Patra, for example, we use to treat alopecia-like conditions. Snuhik Shira, for example, it is very well used in the Snuhik Shara, and such things we should show to students. I wouldn't like to speak much on the Dushi Visha or Gara Visha or Viruddhahara. There is lots to speak. The concept of allergy, the concept of autoimmune disorders, the skin disorders which are related directly to allergy like the urticaria. We all know the common drug prescribed are the Haridra Khanda, Haridra, etc. But we should try with drugs like Dushi Vishari Gutika, Shirisha Dikwata, Aragvata Dikwata. They have lots to do in such disorders because they have the property of Vishagnata as well. Of course, how psoriasis can be related with Doshi Visha, the concept and the treatment modalities, that is one more huge area to speak about. Today, I guess I'm crossing my time limits. I wanted to cover some more points, so I would like to skip all this. I'm very much expecting that Dr. Sri Krishnan has already said you regarding all these disorders of skin. The flavor enhancers, our students should be taught. This comes under the adult trends. They should be taught this under, they act as a form of Garavisha, especially the glutamic acid and the Ajinomoto. You can see this. This is the favorite food for everybody, Maggie. But then you shouldn't use it continuously for long period. If you can see, it is written here, flavor enhancers are used. What flavor enhancers? They are also explained very well. So we should teach them regarding the Ajinomoto, the Chinese foods, all of them contain Ajinomoto. So when they are continuously taken, it forms a form of Garavisha. So this should be taught. And Jangama Visha, Kerala is one such state where you get lots of cases. Students should be taught with to the practical aspects. You should know to identify. When I was a student in Kerala, I remember patients bringing the dead snakes in polythene bags so that the doctors can recognize whether it is poisonous or non-poisonous. So we need to know them and the basic treatments. Snake poison, I understand it is difficult to treat. At least these we should know. And students should be taught very well on the treatment modalities All these patients had been to the Vishachikitsa Kendra of Papinisheri, the photographs I'm showing you, and all these are practical patients, and only Prabhakaran sir might have very well said you, these were the patients whom he treated in his OPD, and very nicely they were treated. These were of Mashaka Visha, and we get patients of Shadapadi. You need to know what is Shadapadi, what are the treatment modalities, this is how it presents. You need to know even pipilikas, though not the ones found at home, the carpenter ants, fire ants, harvester ants, these have venomous properties. So the treatment modality should be specifically, and all these patients, the photographs I'm showing you, they had taken the Haridra or such Triphala or such things at home. They had tried for 3 to 4 days and then come down to Vishachikitsa Kendra, because with this smaller treatment modalities, they didn't end up. They didn't get cured. The wasp, the Kanaba Visha, this can be really dangerous. They can even have anaphylactic reactions. We had a patient with the paralysis presentation, but he had a history of wasp sting because of the anaphylaxis. Students should be taught of special, at least some gutikas like Dashanga Gutika, Vilvadi, Visha Vilvadi, Dushi Vishari, Patola Katurohinyadi again, Vishaharagana, Adravya, all such things should be, a knowledge of such things should be given at BAMS level to students. Shigrupunarnavadi, Nalpamaradi, Kottam Tagaradi, one more yoga which is very well used in Vishaja Shotha or any other Shotha for that matter. Vrishchika Visha, it has its own relevance. Everywhere in the coastal belts of Kerala, we get patients of Vrishchika Visha, the Grita Saindavara Dara, or the Jiraka, just the Jiraka Prayoga, all these can be done even at houses. Immediate treatment modalities, students should be taught with such modalities. Gritas Aranaladhara or Grita Saindavadhara, the Luta Visha, for example, what diseases can be taken under Luta Visha, the herpes presentation or anything. Such things should be practically shown to students. Even though I understand you don't have an OPD, maybe you can show them through the photographs that are available. Teachers should have a knowledge of the such things so that you give it to students, so that they can practically use this. Very wonderful yogas like Lodra Sevyadi or Neeli Tulasyadi, they are available in the market. Gobi Chandanadi Gutika, they are available especially in Kerala, and students should be taught with the use of such drugs so that they can practice once they go out. And of course, Alarka Visha, we don't have much to do, but okay, I agree, you don't go for injections, but at least you should know to advise patients when the anti-rabies should be given, what are the doses of anti-rabies. Very sadly or surprisingly, our students don't even know these doses when it should be given. So students should be very well taught regarding this. Then the acid and alkalis, of course, they have their own role. In the household poisons, we have many acids or alkalis that are used. The adverse effects, if you see these days, the research papers show all this. The sanitizers used continuously, they cause all these skin manifestations. And the Vishahara Dravyas, as I said you, the Vishahara Dravyas, the Ganas, they can be used for the preparations of sanitizers or disinfectants, and these must be propagated in this season of COVID-19. In the future perspective, I expect a department of Agat Tantra to have its a clinic of its, an OPD of its own, or even for the common students who practice their in their clinics, they should follow certain procedures of Vishaharatva, like the we send the patient of sugar for analysis in the blood, right? Or urine examination or sugar in the blood. Similarly, it is very necessary that we analyze certain, we need to know the chronic manifestations of toxic metals. These days, if you see the research papers, toxic metals and pesticides are present in body of every person, and this creates a lot of problems, several diseases. So we need to know how we need to see all these. For example, the pesticide residues, I want to share with you one paper, the endosulfan tragedy, the very well known tragedy of Kasargod districts. You know, all these are from the websites, the published papers. All these are presentations of patients, they are present in Kasargod. These are the presentations of endosulfan. Endosulfan is banned now, but then you can see that cypermethrin, which is almost equal to endosulfan in chemically, that is hugely practiced. And even endosulfan is in combination present in chemicals these days, and we eat a lot of these chemicals daily in the vegetables. This is a study conducted here, and you can see all these vegetables: bitter gourd, onion, radish, cucumber, beetroot, cabbage, bhendi. All these have, if you can see here in this, these are the greater than permissible limits. The pesticides are present. You wash them in a hurry burry, and these pesticides don't go. They enter into our food chain every day through the vegetables, and they become a problem in the bioaccumulation, and hence be a cause of dushi visha. We should teach students what can be done, the different washing techniques. There are several studies conducted these days, the different washing techniques. See, in this research, it was found that the tap water and haridra water, you just fill in salt to water and dip the vegetables for about 15 minutes and then cook it. You can see that the percentage of chemicals, the pesticides that are there on the water, that goes off more, to a greater extent, 96.63 compared to the tap water, 79% reduction in the chemicals that were used. See, chlorpyrifos, this was the pesticide used. When you washed with tap water, only 67% was gone. But when you dip this cauliflower, this was a study on cauliflower, in boiled haridra water, you dipped it for 15 minutes and then you checked for chlorpyrifos, you saw that it was gone by 95%. So such things should be taught to students so that they can utilize the knowledge of Visha Chikitsa. I guess I have completed my time schedule. I have spoken for an hour. This was with regards to the syllabus. I have a lot to speak on this also, especially point number 11, the Madhya Madhatyaya. Students should be taught. You cannot stop students from being addicted to Madhya or drugs for that matter. It is all their wish these days. We know children are very much attracted in this age, but then at least students should be taught regarding what is toxic, at what dose it is toxic, so that they can restrain themselves hopefully, and how to keep, how much you should take, how frequently you should take. Such things should, a thorough knowledge should be given to students, so that the toxicity aspect of it is very well taught to them, so that even they get addicted to, even though if they get addicted to such drugs, they should know what not to do, or what other materials to take simultaneously. If they know that certain things are hepatotoxic, they will surely go for such vishagna dravyas which are hepatoprotective. We should teach them simultaneously with the vishagna dravyas which are system wise, which act on respiratory system, which act on the hepatobiliary system, which act on urinary system, so that they can adopt such procedures also in their day-to-day life or their clinical practice. I guess I have made an attempt to cover only the section A of paper of our Agada Tantra. Section B, which is purely related with forensic medicine and toxicology, that section also has its own role to play. For example, just 2 more minutes I would like to take. I guess all of us are well known regarding the Sushant Singh Rajput tragedy that is going on. That has created a huge movement around the country. I don't know, Keralites usually don't prefer. When I was in Kerala, I was also a great fan of Mohanlal and Mammootty, and we don't wish to see other movies, no Hindi movies. I don't know students who are attending this, whether they know regarding Sushant Singh or not, but then the tragedy is real tragedy. We as students, medical students, they really need to know certain basic features, so that if we are asked to speak on certain matters, we need to tell our opinions regarding, an expert opinion regarding what a suicide is, what are the features of a hanging, what are the features of strangulation, whether the neck mark that was there on Sushant Singh Rajput's neck, is it suggestive of hanging or a strangulation? Was the death postmortem or antemortem? Such things, a basic idea we need to have as citizens of India. We need to know certain points, the modes of death. There is a huge thing going on regarding whether he was dead when he was declared dead or not. Some people say his fingers were moving, he had no cyanosis, his tongue was not out. Many such features are said or being spoken about, and I get calls from my friends or students for opinions. As an expert of Agada Tantra, what do you have to say? And when we speak, I get calls from lawyers, lawyer relatives of my students who ask me, Madam, I have a case of hanging here or a documentary evidence. What else can do you suggest as an expert witness? Now, such things maybe you get eventually in your practice being doctors. A medical record, your friend when you are practicing can ask you, Please give me a sick certificate." Can you issue a certificate for what purpose? In government officials, he's a government servant, he want to produce that. A student producing in school for absentee and a government servant producing that certificate in at a government level, these have differences. Can we as practitioners give such certificates? All such practical aspects should be taught in the subject of forensic medicine and toxicology with practical applicability. And I really wish that students not only taught in the current trends. I understand that many students, I don't say all, many institutions teach only the theoretical aspects of Agat Tantra, Vyavahar Ayurveda and Vidhi Vaidyaka, and I really wish the practical aspects of the subject comes out, and every institute, every department of Agat Tantra takes initiative in teaching the practical aspects of the subject, so that students have courage to practice it when they go out, and they really do practice it in their clinical practice. I wholeheartedly thank Dr. Jishnu and all the other members of the Department of Agada Tantra, of the Ashtanga Ayurveda, the management, and the whole of the Ashtanga Ayurveda for giving me this opportunity to share my views on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. It was a pleasant students as an eye opener to the teachers who are dealing with the Department of Agada Tantra. Actually, you showed us, rather, you opened our eyes on what topics. As you said, rather than going only on the theory aspects, which are of lesser importance in the practical aspects, which the syllabus actually contains a lot, we should be focusing more on the practical aspects of the Agada Tantra, which is very vast and wide, and it gets very little time in the current scenario of the
Hello.
the put it to the speaker, and we have a interaction session. I'm sure you will be having a lot of as I told, rather than a uh, she had doctor had covered all the short on the topic, give more importance to the uh, practice students. So I urge to come up with any queries if they are having. Meanwhile, I'm sure Dr. Gopikrishnan sir might be there in the audience list. If at all you there, please can you just have a few words and interact with the students? I am sure we'll be having a session directly by he is there
Hello, am I audible?
Surely, sir, surely.
To say an eye opener, as Jishnu sir had mentioned, because first of all, I would like to thank the organizers and also Shobha madam for giving such a wonderful talk with a very short duration of 1 hour. Madam could convey us a lot of things where we lack in our management or expertise in managing the emergency cases. And I am very happy to be one of the participants in this for
Camera
1 hour.
on.
It was very informative session,
Camera.
first of all. And
Okay.
for my dear students, the thing is we can have a lot of options with us if we think of Agada Tantra in the cases coming to our OP. Lot of choice. Lot of choice means we are exploring, and there are a lot of things more to explore as far as medicines are concerned. Madam already mentioned about a few medicines that we can use in our practice, like the usage of Dushi Visharya or the Shanga Gada, or even Madam's thesis topic Grita Saindavadara. It was a very what to say, very helpful medicine in managing the emergency cases. Still, in my OP, I am using Grita Saindavadara for acute onset of Ekadesha Jashota sort of conditions, even if it is inflammatory, not of toxicological in origin. Just I don't know what to say because it came to me as a surprise that Jishnu sir called me to have a few words. Still, to a message to the participants is try your level best to practice with the medicines as much as possible, which are mentioned in Agatantra. In one way or the other, it will come to your help. You can flourish in your practice by using the principles of Agada and the medicines of Agada. Let us try our level best to increase or to improve the forgotten science, forgotten branch of Ayurveda. In our current scenario, it is very relevant actually. In a lot of areas, we see like the environmental toxicities or occupational disorders or constant exposure to the toxins or allergens in the routine life. Everywhere this concept holds good and our management is uh, excellent actually. Excellent means we can't express in the words. It has to be seen in our clinics, practice, find the success and get satisfied. It's a feeling actually. We have to feel that success once we get the result by giving medicines through Agata Tantra perspective or treating with the principles of Asha Chikitsa. Thank you, Shobha Madam and Jishnu Sir for giving me an opportunity to tell my views. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. As I told, there might be few questions in the chat box. I request Gauri I request the organizer to unmute yourself and you can ask the queries if at all there in the chat box to the speaker.
Namaste, ma'am. Hello, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, please.
Namaste, ma'am. Thank you for the wonderful class, first of all. I didn't find any questions in the chat box, but I have a question myself. That is, you mentioned about the use of Vishahara Dravyas for treatment of maggots, right? So what is the difference between using a Vishahara and a Krimihara Dravya in that same condition? Does this Vishahara Dravya give any additional benefit or easy recovery in the conditions of treating maggots?
Hello. Hello, Shruti.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am, you're audible.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. See, I was speaking about the Arkadi Gana that was mentioned in Sushruta. And if you can see the Arkadi Gana, the Vishahara and Krimihara go side by side. both these Vishagna, Krimigna activities is mentioned for the entire Gana. And even if you see the list of drugs that is mentioned in Charaka also, if you can see, Krimigna Kashaya Yoga is mentioned following the Vishagna Kashaya Yoga. So the concept of Krimi, one among, for example, here right now in COVID season also, we are into several research proposals, and the concept comes in here whether this should be taken as a Krimi or a Visha. Okay, so a Krimi doesn't just mean that which is visible to the eyes, naked eyes, or invisible in the form of a microorganism. And because it is a microorganism, it is a Krimi. And because it is not a microorganism, it is a Visha. Such things don't go hand in hand. So what I meant to say by the use of such dravya is, wherever you have a Krimi that you can see visibly, and the general notion is in Kaya Chikitsa or Shalya Tantra is to go for drugs which are Vrina Shodhaka. Just a drug which are Vrina Shodhaka or have the property of Vrina Ropana and Vrina Shodhana. If you can see, we have separate list of drugs said even for that. But then, if you have a drug which is both Krimigna and Vishagna, why Vishagna? Because in such cases of Krimi also, for example, if you see many other cases, these Krimis don't leave the body so easily. And just a Krimigna Dravya when you put in, it doesn't mean that it will die off and it will go. Every day these Krimis are there in the body. They have their own pathology. And so we need a concept of Visha also coming in there, because for a Visha Chikitsaka, a Krimi is also an external source coming in and creating deformities in the dhatus. So you should go for drugs which are both Krimigna and Vishagna when it is chronic. If it is acute in onset, maybe you can just directly go for Vidanga or such drugs which are mainly Krimigna in nature. When it is chronic, persistent for a long time, then you should add on a Vishagna Dravya also, because Krimi eventually also will create one or the other form of Visha in the body. I guess I am clear.
Thank you, ma'am. You're clear. Ma'am, there is a question in the chat box from Srinidhi Sundararajan. That is spider bite and spider saliva, when it comes in contact with the skin, does it cause the same effect? And what is the treatment protocol? Is the treatment same for both conditions, like spider bite and the contact of spider saliva to the skin?
See, there are two things coming up here: a spider bite and a spider saliva. Is it the spider you are speaking about, or is it the Luta Visha concept you are speaking about? All the spiders, if you can see the toxicity or the bites from the spider, if you go on searching articles or published data regarding the bites of spider, you can see that the spiders have venom, of course, and when they bite, they inject the venom into the body, and the reactions that come out maybe in the form of a blister, and then into a bulle, and then necrosis of that region. For example, the brown recluse and the black widow, these are the two varieties, especially in India, which cause serious problems. And there, if you can see, it is exactly depicted that it is the bite. Following the bite, just as in snakes, even in spiders, these can have the venom is secreted into the body, which creates the reaction. Okay. But when you speak of spider saliva, if you see into the descriptions given in Ayurveda, we know that the Luta Visha, the adhishthanas of Lutas are Dasha, isn't it? We have the Dasha adhishthanas for Luta Visha specifically, and in that Lala Srava is also included. And practically speaking, you never know whether there is a bite from a spider or it is just the licking. There are references of certain organisms which have chemicals. For example, if you can see the pythons that bite you, I'm speaking of a snake, of course, I know that the pythons bite. Following that, the saliva of the python also have certain enzymatic enzymes which cause problems in human beings. They are toxic to human beings. So though they are a non-poisonous snake, they can create serious problems in human beings by creating a wound and other features. Similarly, in certain varieties of spiders, if ever you find that, first of all, you don't know whether it is the saliva that is creating or the venom that is there. spider bites are not like snake bites. A snake bite, person can know that he's been bit by a snake. But when a spider is usually found in the dress or the bed sheets where a patient was sleeping, and hence the patient has a guess that the spider might have bitten him. We had cases wherein patients brought us the spiders in Papincherry, but then they were not able to tell whether they were rightly bitten by the spider. The spider hair, if you can see, the small hairs on the body of the spiders, certain spiders like tarantulas, if you can read into those, the descriptions of tarantulas, they have bodily hairs which are quite big enough, and they are allergic to human body. So though that might be the allergy which is causing this reaction also. So we need to understand treatment modality in Ayurveda. Of course, we go for treatment in Ayurveda. What we must see is the doshic predominance there and the Vishahara Dravya there. For example, one of my friends, Dr. Jessie, who is a medical officer now, her thesis work was on Luta Visha, and she did it on the Neeli Tulasyadi versus the Lodra Sevyadi. Both these drugs, internally as well as external application. Many a times when patients came, they were only blisters and spreading in nature, and then eventually into the when the blisters ruptured, they had crusts formed, and then the woundy nature there. And in this conditions, we saw that application of the lepa, she had prepared the lepa of the same drugs of the kashaya, and maybe many a times they even created problems because they were applied and not washed properly, so the infection there increased, and then she had to explain it to patients to wash it off after half an hour. So what I would like to tell you is, whenever you use the Ayurvedic treatment modality, we shouldn't, there is no difference between whether it was a bite or whether it was the saliva or whether it was something else. The presentation should be seen, the selection should be a Vishahara Dravya, whether it is Vata, Pitta or Kapha dominant. If you can remember in Kita Visha, you have this categorization also as Vata, Pitta and Kapha dominant. So the treatment modality should go accordingly. If it is more of Pittaja, you can go for Guluchya Kashaya or such things which are Pittahara in nature. If it is more of the doshic dominant should be given importance, and then you should go for the treatment irrespective of whether it was the bite or the saliva which has created the problem. Hope I am clear.
Yes, ma'am. That's another question from Gauri Nandana. Can the medicines and treatment used for COVID-19 act as a Garavesha in the future, and what is the hope of Agada in its treatment or its management?
The treatment as of now used in COVID-19, there is no specific treatment being used. I don't know the conditions at Kerala, but here at Uttar Pradesh, we have our hospital is a COVID center here, and we have lots of patients admitted. Now it is only symptomatic patient treatment that has been given. And in Ayurveda, we have been trying to use, we have no permission. Kerala has been lucky enough that you are trying out treatment modalities. But then in UP, we are not given the permission. We have a project which is proposed with Bilwadi Gutika and Koshatakya Agada, etc. But we have not got the permission yet. So only Guduchi is being given the personal interest of the university. But then in the asymptomatic patients, no treatment is given. It is only the HCQ that is given. And a serious debate is going on regarding the HCQ that has been given to patients also, whether it is necessary or not. But then ICMR has already stated that HCQ is the basic drug that should be given to every COVID patient, and everybody is following that. Otherwise, symptomatic treatment is given to patient. And Garavisha, you cannot say that all modern medicine will act as a Garavisha. Garavisha can be a concept wherein really you don't have any feature there in the patient, but still you are giving certain medications which are not necessary, maybe in a higher dose, only then it can create problems. In COVID-19 management, I don't think so anybody as of now is giving any particular chikitsa. Now the vaccine, if you are speaking of the vaccines which are largely heard about, the vaccines are yet to come. And when they come, of course, they can act as a Garavisha if there is no, because we are expecting a vaccine according to the news that we are getting, and a vaccine is expected in India by August 15th. If that comes, we all know that it is not into large scale human trials, and all of us will be guinea pigs. When given, we don't know what is the reaction by the body. So right now, we are not in a stage to tell whether the COVID treatment will be a Garavisha or not. As per my knowledge knows, there is no treatment specifically given for COVID-19. And so there shouldn't be any problem of Garavisha. If you're speaking of HCQ, the dose of HCQ, if you see, it is really not given in a very daily dosage routine dose. Weekly dosage is being given, which for a Garavisha, as per my knowledge goes, the accumulation should be there in a body, or it should be given in a very high dose so that it can create a toxicity. Here, the HCQ that is given also, the excretion level, the half-life, if you can see of HCQ, the excretion level is quite high there. So the second dose when it is given, the first dose is already excreted from the body. So there is no chance of it forming a Garavisha. That is my opinion on the treatment of COVID-19 as of now, as per my knowledge goes. But of course, one more part of that question was the asymptomatic patients, if you can see, they should be, or patients, we are getting to hear of a lot of patients who are becoming positive after their negative. I hope you're getting my point. Patients are declared negative in the hospital, but after a treatment of, after a span of 15 days, when a recheck is being done on these patients, they are found to be positive. This is really a huge question, ma'am. Now, in such treatments, I guess, okay, the government is not allowing us to practice until the patient becomes negative. But once he becomes negative, he is declared given the treatment of Dushivisha. You either give him a mild Shodhana followed by Dushivishari Gutika at least for a period of 15 days, so that, or 1 month, and if the patient is ready, because every day is exposed also, and if this is given, I guess we should try whether this will be helpful in stopping the patient from becoming positive again. That is my understanding regarding the concept of Doshi and Gara in COVID-19.
Thank you, ma'am. There are no more questions in the chat box. If anyone have any more doubts, you can please unmute yourself and ask directly. I hope there are no more questions. Now I invite Gopika of Ashtangam to give a brief summary of today's session.
Namaste, ma'am. Am I audible?
Namaste.
Hello. Hello, ma'am. So today we had a very informative class about the current trends and future perspectives of Agadha Tantra. We started with the Damshachils, that is the nomenclature of Agadha Tantra. And then in a very interesting way, we started with the CCIM module. We discussed and analyzed through it. And the first point, which I found really very interesting, was that something which we never did, or we never thought, that is the emergency rescue mechanisms and the immediate resuscitative methods followed for various emergency situations like CPR and all that things, possibilities of all these techniques in our science. Actually, this thought came to me only when I heard this class, because asphyxia, drowning, poisoning, such emergency conditions, the branch of Ayurveda dealing with it is none other than Agadha Tantra. So it is Agadha Tantra which is meant to be which is meant for making us aware about all these techniques. And then we went to Visha Guna Orjis, that is, we simply seized as a syllabus point, but then the And next wonderful thought, that is the importance of this Vishakna Gana or Vishakna Dravyas. That is, they are not just merely Vishakna, but also Ojasya in nature. This thought, I don't think we only by only by great experiences we can come up to such a conclusion. And then also in the treatment of maggots and all that we discussed, and then we went to the detection of tests for detection of Visha, that is importance of contact poisoning, which is a very relevant topic nowadays, because we said in the beginning, ma'am, you said Agada Tantra has lost its glory, but then I think the branch of Ayurveda which is having the greatest scope in the current scenario is none other than Agata, because there are immense number of such chemicals and such poisonings. Like in ancient times, people used Dandadhavana churnas and other natural teeth cleaning methods, oral hygienic methods. But nowadays, people are using with toothpaste and all those chemical mixed stuffs. So such contact poisonings and everything are very well addressed in our science, which is not that no, non among people are not much aware about all that. And next coming currently important matter is adulterants. In everything we have adulterants, including food and in each and everything which we use in our daily life. So the toxicities and other complications caused due to these adulterants are also managed well in our science. And also we have allergies, skin disorders and all that, psoriasis, dushi, visha. We all have a very good hand over all these difficult health issues. And next, in food we have Maggi and all those noodles like things which is also acting as a garavisha. Once I think near some days, some years before, Maggi was banned or something, but nowadays again it is used very much popularly among people, and people are getting affected too. But due to its garavisha action, I think many of them are not identifying it to be a cause of such diseases. And then we saw many very important yogas which are considered to be a must learned things, like Vilvati Gudika, Dashanga Gudika, Shigru Punarnavati. Ma'am, you explained it very well to us, its importance, and also about Aranala, Dhara, Jiraga Prayogas, etc. Simple Prayogas in the context of Vrishchiga Visha. And then we have acid, alkali, chemicals, and etc. Sanitizers. In this time of COVID-19, we have sanitizers very commonly used among people, which are causing several skin issues as well as several like accidents, small kids swallowing and getting poisoned and all that. So effective management of all these problems are very well, it can be done very well from our side, and all these are to be taught, and such thoughts are also very much enlightening. Thank you, ma'am, for all that. Last we have last you said about madhyama datyaya, that is alcoholism. Yeah, it is not this kind of personal, we can only make people aware about it. So by making them aware about all these doses, do's and don'ts in alcoholism, I think so many such casualties can be managed up to a limit. And ma'am, you had asked about when we started dealing with forensic medicine and toxicology portion, you had asked about Sushant Singh Rajput's case. Yes, ma'am. Even in South India, we do have a lot of fans for him, and his case was really shocking for all of us. So in our science, expert opinions regarding all these forensic issues are also very much important. Today or tomorrow, we are all going to face such things. So making us all aware and enlightened about all these things was the main achievement of this class. And a lot of thanks for this, ma'am. A really wonderful session. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Now I would like to call Nandana to convey the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Gratitude is the greatest of all virtues. Our very valued guest, Dr. Shobha ma'am, our beloved teachers, and my dear friends. I consider it is a great honor for being asked to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. First, let me extend my deepest gratitude to our guest, Dr. Shobha Ma'am, for accepting our request to speak through an online platform. The session was very educative and informative. Thank you so much, ma'am. A million thanks to our Jishnu sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Agadatantra, Ashtanga Ayurveda Vidyapeetham. Last but not the least, I thank all my friends for all your cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandana. And once again, on behalf of Ashtangam Ayurveda Vidyapeetham and Department of Agadatantra, I extend a very, very thanks to Dr. Shobha ma'am. As we all are sitting far away, and it's very difficult to convey our thanks and regards in a conventional way. We have thought of sharing the certificate just as a what to say, show our gratitude. We are sharing the certificate in the screen, and I hope we will be sending it online to you, ma'am. And once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation and spending this much of time with us. Thank you, and thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank you, Doctor. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Sure. So today we will be concluding the session, and as we used to do, we will be sharing the reports of or the details of further sessions, and we hope we all will be sitting together again with wonderful sessions like this. Thank you once again for all the participants, and thank you.